Today we're checking out Slay The Spire 2 on both the Steam Deck OLED and the LCD. I don't think there was ever much doubt that this game would run well on the Steam Deck, but we're still going to go through the settings and see what kind of performance and battery life we can get out of it on both versions of the Steam Deck. So without further ado, let's jump into some gameplay. Now, running the game on maximum settings with MSAA set to 8, with the FPS set to 90. You're currently seeing 60 because that's what my capture card cards. The OLED is estimating around 8 hours of battery life. It jumps around between 7 hours and 45 minutes and 8 hours and 15 minutes and 20 minutes, depending on what's really happening on the screen. But realistically, we can just call it about 8 hours. This is without any TDP limiting and without limiting the FPS. So battery life is very good here, pretty similar to the first game. The sequel also adds multiplayer, and there are some new animations and visual improvements compared to the original. Let's take a quick look at the settings. I am going to set the FPS limit to 90 and set MSAA to max and turn VSync off. We can also set the aspect ratio to 16:10, which is nice because this wasn't possible with the first game. There are also some input options, and the game has full controller support, which works perfectly on the Steam Deck. In the general settings tab, we have things like screen shake, fast mode, always showing the timer, showing hits. You can toggle these however you like. There's also an option to limit the FPS in background, which can help a bit with battery life. Now, in terms of graphics settings, there actually isn't a lot you can change. One of the main options here is MSAA. And if we turn MSAA completely off, the game honestly doesn't look that much different, especially on the Steam Deck screen. And even looking at it on my monitor through the capture card, the difference between MSAA 8 times and none is pretty small. With MSAA enabled, we're sitting at around 8 hours of battery life, and with it disabled, the estimate goes up a little bit, but not by much, so honestly you can just leave it on if you want a slightly cleaner image. If we cap the game to 30 FPS, the battery life jumps to over 9 hours on the Steam Deck OLED, landing somewhere around 9 hours and 20 minutes. That's actually very similar to the first game, which was one of the most battery efficient games on the Steam Deck. However, I did notice something when running at 30 FPS. Occasionally the game can stutter a bit, usually when enemies get hit or when the game is loading in and out of the map. It's not constant, but it does happen from time to time, and if that bothers you, you can leave it at 60 FPS. Because of that, I'd probably recommend playing this at 60 FPS or higher, unless you're really struggling for that one more hour of battery life. And since the game is extremely lightweight, the Steam Deck handles it very easily. I'm gonna play it at 60 FPS. Speaking of lightweight, the game size is only 1.71 gigabytes, so it barely takes up any storage space on the Steam Deck, and I can see this becoming the #1 game played in March, and it's probably never gonna leave your Steam Deck. The game can be played completely offline, but it also supports online multiplayer. I tested the multiplayer by hosting a game directly on the Steam Deck and playing it with a friend who was on PC, and it worked perfectly. Performance stays smooth, it didn't affect battery life at all. You can play with up to 4 people. I don't have 4 friends, obviously, so I didn't test that, but I don't think it will affect battery life much. So overall, multiplayer works exactly how you would want it on the Steam Deck. Now, if you're using the Steam Deck LCD, I also tested that. Battery life is still pretty good at 60 FPS. You're looking at around 4 hours and 25 minutes, and if you cap it to 30 FPS, that goes up to about 5 hours and 15 minutes. So overall, Slay The Spire 2 runs extremely well on the Steam Deck. It's lightweight, has full controller support, works offline or online, and the battery life is excellent, especially on the OLED. That's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving a like, and if you want to see more Steam Deck, Steam hardware, or general handhelds content, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.